Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for attending. This is Citizens for Global Solutions in Minnesota. We are, today is March 30 to 2021. We are celebrating the Women's Month. In celebration to the Women's Month, we invited three wonderful speakers to speak about female voices, justice, and hope. We have three wonderful speakers with us today. Javaria Tareen, she's a communications specialist, journalist, legal expert, and social activist from Balochistan, Pakistan. She has a master's degree in mass communication, international relations, and is also a law graduate. She's also a recipient of 3 Fulbright scholarships. Currently, she's the CEO of Bird and serves on several significant official Pakistan government task forces and agencies, such as technical advisor to Chief Minister Balochistan, chairperson of Trade Corporation of Pakistan, Balochistan Program Coordinator for the Prime Minister's Task Force on Knowledge Economy. So I think I'm going to start with Javaria, and I will introduce the next ones as they come, so you keep their names and bio in mind. So with no further ado, Javaria, thank you for coming. I know you are in Pakistan right now, 11 hours ahead of Central Time, USA. Thank you for attending. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you asked me to be part of this conference and a subject which is so close to me and to my heart. Being a woman rights defender, as a journalist, as a communication specialist, and now working with the chief minister, now, being in the power corridor. So I would like to touch upon on few issues that has really given me a different perspective, because when I started my journey as a communication specialist and before that as a journalist, I always had this passion to change the society and to empower women. And because I'm coming from a tribal family, so I was the first woman to be into a university and then to be in the media. So it's a very long and it's a very hard journey for me to convince my family and then the society that a tribal woman can be part of the media. And yes, she can do wonders, and she could bring proud to her family as well, not only the men, as they are supposed to be. So, when I started working with the chief minister and, having that much experience of working with different organizations, being a communication specialist, so I've been taken up as a member for the task force to empower youth and on sustainable development goals. So I started working with the chief minister, and then I started to tell him that, this is what we need, this is how we can do. And, the government of Balochistan is doing such a tremendous job, but there are still areas of improvement. And I could not see the women leadership in the power corridors. Yes, we do have women who are there, but on a reserved seats, which means that they are women parliamentarians, but their selection are totally on the basis of, their links, their family backgrounds, not considering that, they have done any work in the past or they have any expertise. So with that aim, I joined the Chief Minister office as a technical advisor. Now, being the only single woman sitting in a power room where the decisions are made, because I always had this passion. Oh, I've done so much journalism. I want to contribute. I want to do something, and I've been doing. And I was raising voice for women empowerment, but I was unable to see things in implementation because I'm someone. I believe doing things done, not just to be vocal about it. I'm a very practical person. So I accepted the offer, and here I entered the power corridor. So, now one woman sitting there, and they are different men. They are 20, 21, 22, 23 grade bureaucrats. They are politicians coming from a tribal background. So I started contributing, and I was started sharing that, this is need to be done. This is how we should do. This is how we can promote the government perspective. So I came up with the slogan of emerging Balochistan, because I told the chief minister that now let's talk about emerging, because it's CPAC, it's Balochistan, world is discussing about Pakistan and in particular Balochistan. So I worked on a slogan, emerging Balochistan. But then I realized that being the only woman in those meetings, sorry to say, but the men started becoming very uncomfortable with my presence. And then the colleagues, the media people with whom I have worked for 10, or I started my career when I was in school from 2002 as a radio jockey. So there were people, journalists used to support me, wanted to record my interviews. I worked with UNHCR as their spokesperson. But then I realized that, in 6 months, how many scandals I have? Can anybody guess? 6. First of all, I just asked, because I was working as a volunteer, and I just said, Chief Minister, okay, do not pay me, okay, let's wait for the notification, but I will contribute. So they said, I just asked for one favor, give me a car and driver, because it's Balochistan, Quetta, I want to to move in a secure place. So they give me a car and a driver. So within a month, that notification was on social media. Boom, boom, boom. Javaria Tareen has given a car and a driver. A pretty girl attending chief minister meetings. For what reason? Why she is there? I ignored. I was like, everybody knows what I'm doing. I have this passion to work. Okay, second scandal. Oh, she has given the office as well in the chief minister's secretariat. Oh, and there were comments down there. Oh, she's pretty. Oh, she's this. Oh, she's that. The third scandal was that, I had a very good terms with the chief secretary. So he was very kind with me. So, there was a video where the chief minister is doing a press conference, and I just entered after, I think I was 15 minutes late. So I just entered, and I was just standing behind the chief minister. So chief minister very politely just raised his brows and asked me, come here. So I just walked, and I applauded, and I thanked him that thank you so much. And then, those reactions were recorded. CS doing this, Javaria doing this. Oh God, what's going on? So, this is the mindset which I really want to talk about. And I really want to highlight that, women are not accepted in a power corridor, and they need to struggle so very hard. And at times I realized that, and there were women who are also, doing in a good positions, but, I could not see them contributing. But I felt that, just to put me down, and just to make me away from that corridor, they did all these cheap tactics, because they know I'm living in Quetta, I'm living in Balochistan. So, I walked one day to get my medicines at a pharmaceutical store. So, that guy was like, madam, I saw that clip. And what was wrong in that? And I was like, there was nothing wrong, but it was everywhere. It was shared on WhatsApp groups. At times, because it was such a hard journey for me to be here and to do what I can contribute. I felt so disappointed, because everybody was like, oh, ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. But there were things which are pushing me back, and they could not push me more back because of my education. I have that confidence. I'm not shy. I'm not, I'm not someone to be away. So I really feel that, what we need to do as women leaders, we need to come together, and we really need to encourage women who really have that, that germs, that virus, who really want to be part of that power corridors. And I could see that, girls, they do get the education, but what need to be done, that, universities, I've done so many sessions with the youth, and I really want them, in 3 sessions, I invited the youth, and I asked them, okay, come and share with me the issues, because I really don't want to be someone expert and know all the solutions. I wanted them to speak, because in Balochistan nobody has asked them what you want. So in those sessions, they were, in one session which I did in Pashin, in my district, in my village, there were 50 men, not a single woman. And there are schools, there are colleges. And I raised the question, I said, look, next time when I do the session or I bring something to you, I will ask you to come and bring your sister, bring your colleague with you, so that, they should know what they want to do. So I feel, and education institutes need to do so much, so that, girls like myself, I was very lucky to have mentors. I was lucky to have 3 Fulbrights, and US has given me so much. I'm so empowered now. I've worked with Amnesty International, I've worked with World Bank. I was last year, I attended the Howard Kennedy School. I worked with the State Department, but there are very less people, very less young women who can be part of such, prestigious programs and scholarships. But my hope is that, I will not leave the ground. I will not be, discouraged. Alhamdulillah, my family is very supportive. They know, because if they want to do the character assassination, or to want to bring shame for me or for my family, I think that's a very cheap tactics now. And that's why I say in Pakistan, I just today posted that picture, Kathy, which I shared with you, that, there is a woman walking ahead and a man, having a rope, and he's like, holding her. So I posted that on my social media. If you have it, if you can just display. So there were a lot of criticism. There were people, they were saying, oh yes, that is what happening in Pakistan. And they were like, people like, you can now take it, there are different perspective of the picture. But for me is that even she wants to lead, but a man is controlling her, even from behind. Even she's ahead of a man, her ideas, her passion, she know the way. But look, the rope is in the hand of a man. So I really want this. I don't want to be ahead. I want to be shoulder to shoulder, to have the acceptability that yes, a woman can stand alongside with a man and can contribute equally. So I hope that, in coming years, women like myself, women like, all special women which we are here now present, we jointly will work, and international organizations will come and will support the original organizations, the people, not the government. Because in the government, people, they just want to take money and then just not to do anything. Things are on paper. But they are NGOs, they are think tanks which need to be empowered, which need to be equipped properly, so that we can contribute and we bring those young voices of women who can lead in the power corridors. Because I understand the issues of a woman. A man cannot draft a policy on women empowerment. It should be women, and it should be girls who should identify their issues and lead those issues and solve those solutions as well. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Javaria. So I will ask everybody to hold on in your questions, and I have a bunch, but I will let you guys ask after the other speakers. So I'm going to introduce you now to Melissa. Melissa Nambangi is recognized as a community leader through her strong advocacy on behalf of African women. Originally from Cameroon, she speaks French and English fluently and understands the struggles that African females face in acculturating to American society. She was renowned journalist, news anchor, on Cameroonian television and a Hubert Humphrey International Fellow at the U of M. She earned her master's degree in mass communication and journalism with a minor in women's studies from the University of Minnesota. After serving as women's advocate in shelters for victims of domestic violence around the Twin Cities, she created the Minnesota African Women's Association, MAWA, in 2002. With you, I welcome Melissa.
Thank you. I hope I'm unmuted.
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. But thank you so much. I see that journalism has influenced Javaria and myself a lot. It kind of opened the doors. And I've made a detour from it for quite some time now, but it's all the root cause or the root effect of journalism. Listening to Javaria, I'm like, wow, we have been fighting. It seems as if you have to fight when you come from cultures like ours, especially when you don't have too many women who are brave enough to fight, because like she pointed out, the scandals they start making about you can really stop you dead in your tracks. Like, okay, this is a cost, I don't want that. Or you just have to be very bold and say, this needs to change. Before going into the School of Journalism, that's when I started my public political fighting kind of stuff. Because in Cameroon, where I come from, we have the English speaking and the French speaking, and the English speaking are the minority, which means the English speaking the part was colonized by the British, 2 regions of Cameroon. And then the other 8 regions were colonized by the French. And that has created problems that exist till today, because the majority always want to control the minority. So we have a lot of human rights issues. And one of those affected how we could attend the School of Journalism. So I eventually took on that fight when I had to go in. I passed the competitive exam, but they wouldn't let us in because they had come up with just like some voter suppression type of laws. They had come up with laws that would keep Anglophones out, Anglophones, English speaking. And I had to fight that. And everybody was telling me, oh, you're wasting your time. Oh, you can't succeed. Oh, a little girl like you. But I had the courage that my father had brought me up with. The first feminist in our family actually is my late father. He had brought us up with so much awareness on your rights and justice and your equality and all of that, that I went ahead and fought that battle and got into the School of Journalism, and that opened a lot of doors for the generations after me who have been to that school. Being here in the US also, I started noticing the issues that African women, the difficulties they were having in getting along in the society and all of that. So while I was working in the shelter, that's where we noticed what was going on and how it was difficult to attend to African women if you didn't know immigration issues. And a lot of the advocates there did not know because they're American. They don't look into what happens with immigrants or immigration or how does that work. So we noticed that. We noticed that the culture also presented a lot of barriers and difficulties for the women, so much that they cannot even get solutions if they don't know how to do it or what is the right thing to do. So that led me to thinking I need to start a nonprofit for African women, which first of all, I researched to make sure that I wasn't going to be replicating anything. And then I did notice that there were a couple of nonprofits led by African women, but they tended to focus just on the group from their own community. So they focused on their own community. And I thought it is very important that we bring everybody together, because when we are in Africa, we don't think of ourselves as African. I knew growing up that I was a Cameroonian, and Africa was just a continent, something, never my identity. Coming out here, then you get a new identity as an African. And it takes a long time for some people to break that within us. You can have issues, and being a Cameroonian, if I'm speaking to like a Nigerian, they don't really see how it concerns them. She's Cameroonian. It's a Cameroonian issue. You don't realize that you are now in a different box. You are now an African. Therefore, if it's affecting a Cameroonian, if you are Somali, it affects you too because of your new identity. So I decided that we needed to create that. And I had a very strong support from a couple of women. And then while doing that, our first interest was domestic violence. But we were talking with the women because we wanted it to be something that would be useful to the women. And I also realized that being educated in the English language gave me a lot of more success than those who had to start learning English before they could get any help. Because I remember when I talked about before I could start the Minnesota African Women's Association, I mentioned issues that African women have, and somebody said, yeah, even in getting an apartment to live in. I said, why? What's the difficulty in getting an apartment? I had no clue. First of all, we are not very alert to the different ways in which racism is implemented anymore. It takes some time to learn that, oh, so this is what so they didn't let me have that because they don't want an African or an immigrant. It takes a long time for us to discover that. So we just take things at face value, So we started the organization. And in talking with the women, which is a typical thing African women do, they will always put themselves last. In talking with them and asking, what should we do for you all in this organization? Oh, forget about us. Start with our daughters. Our daughters are finding it difficult to get used to the new system. Our daughters are getting derailed. They are becoming, they are taking too many freedoms and not being guided and get teenage pregnancy on the rise, stuff like that. So even though I say African women always put themselves last, in this case, it wasn't such a bad thing in making us focus on the daughters, because I didn't know at the time. My own kids were not yet in the US at that time. So I didn't know what was happening with young African girls. As soon as we learned what was happening with them and saw how they were all confused and trying to become more American than Americans in one area and using that, we had to tell them at one time, do you know you are actually being abusive towards your parents at this point? And they're like, oh. So yeah, you have to pay attention to what you're doing. So we started the girls program and realized that we needed to put everything in place to give them the best opportunities for success. So it wasn't only an after-school program where you can come and have fun and hang out with others. It was also something where you have to learn how to become more successful in future. You have to learn how to become part of the community and contribute to the community. So we started building the girls program to the extent where we were in 10 different schools across the Twin Cities. We were in 10 schools. We looked for all the funding, which made it very difficult because we just went to the schools, but we had to get all this funding from foundations. So some years will be good, we'll have enough funding. Other years it's like, but we did that. And at the time we started, there was a very low attendance rate for African girls going on to college after high school. But when we started, it was like 15% went on to college after high school. When we started, the kids in our group, all seniors, always went on to college. So now with this COVID interruption, and I was on a sabbatical for a couple of years and a lot of things changed. With this COVID interruption, I'm afraid those numbers will drop again very seriously, and we will have to start again, building up and getting them to go to college. I proudly display a couple of our girls. One just graduated with JD, whatever that is, Christy, juris, whatever, doctorate. She's now a lawyer. It is wonderful. We have one who is specializing in, is it Baylor College of Medicine or so? So we those, and then a lot of them call to tell us just what a difference it made in their lives. So we decided that we won't forget. Katia, let me know about the time. I can talk for the rest of the day. How much time do I have?
2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. So let me talk about the women. So with the women, we also decided a few years after the girls program. We started the girls program in 2004. So it's been around for quite a while. We have graduated so many batches of girls because we take the last 3 years of high school. But we decided that we needed to do something for the women. And anyway, the women were asking. But most of their attention is focused on getting jobs. And what they love is working in healthcare, mainly because they consider it a very natural thing. Taking care of older people, no big deal. We do that all the time in Africa and nobody pays us anyway. So we find it a very normal thing to do. They love the fact that there's hardly any discrimination in that area. They go for a job, they get it. They love the fact that they can work as many shifts as they want. There are some who practically will work 24 hours Monday to Friday and just come spend weekend with their children. But the important thing is the financial independence it gives them. There was one who impressed me the other day when she said, why are they making so much noise about money? If I want to save $100,000 a year, I can. I was like, wow, you might just drop dead with so much work. But so that's what they wanted. So we started helping them with finding work, but we insisted that they had to be all round. So in order to get them to, for instance, when we get support to pay scholarships for them to go train as certified nursing assistants, we bring in an orientation session where they have to learn financial literacy because we want them to know how to save their money and what to do with their money. We want them to understand the workplace and what their rights are and how they should do. We want them to even be able to reason the fact that you are living in the Twin Cities and there's this wonderful job in St. Cloud that pays you maybe a couple dollars an hour more, and you're driving up and down every day. We want you to understand that there are certain costs which you could let go of, because if you stayed in the Twin Cities and earned $2 less an hour, it even means more to your pocketbook. So we work with them in those areas too. And while COVID has been around, they just see us as their go-to place. So they know some of my staff members' homes, they go there. They come there like, help me fill this form. The county staff are not in the office, so I need help with this. And we have just been working back to back. But guess what? The funding has been zero. That's the bad part to all this. So those are the two things we do, which are the most prominent programs. Besides our African Women's Conference, which is we used to do it once a couple of years, but we had to slow that down. And a few other things we do just to get Africans involved in what is going on. And let me stop there, but it's a lot more.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Last but not least, Maddie Wagner. So Maddie is an educator. She's also a journalist and communications specialist who enjoys building teams, developing new approaches to and resources on education issues, and engaging others, especially young people, in these processes. She currently serves as the National Youth Leadership Council's Director of Content, developing resources for service learning practitioners that bring research to practice. She also served as a NYLC's Director of Communications, overseeing strategic communications, including policy, marketing, research, and curriculum development. While the roots of her service learning practice trace back to teaching middle and high school English language arts, her interests in peace building and conflict resolution have led her to more informal education settings. Through work with a number of nonprofits, she has helped inspire young people to action through the lives and work of Nobel Peace Prize laureates by co-developing a series of iBooks entitled Being the Change. She's a recipient of a Stellar Service Learning Award and an Outstanding Contributions to Service Learning Award from the Minnesota Department of Education. She's a graduate of Mount Holyoke College. She received her teacher training through the University of California, Berkeley's Bay Area Writing Project and earned a MSJ from Northwestern University. Maddie, thank you for coming. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in this illustrious crowd of all of you. And I know enough about some of your backgrounds to know I am fortunate to be here, but I want you all to know that you have to imagine me as three beautiful teenage girls right now who I am representing. So one from Ethiopia, one from China, and one from India. And I do apologize that Sunny, Daisy, and Coco weren't able to be here this morning, and hope I can do justice to their work. But I also want to acknowledge the matriarchy whose shoulders I stand on. And I think about it in this month a lot, from a great-great-grandmother who was the immigrant generation for us. And one of the first university graduates out of the University of Oslo in Norway, and couldn't find work there. So that's kind of the story of how my family ended up here. So I love that it tracks back to her feistiness. And then I should just add that I know Christy and Fadia, two other women on this call, in addition to Katya, thanks to their leadership and our shared involvement in one of the things Katya mentioned. So Katya, thank you for finding, that was way more than you guys want to know about me, but thank you for finding that, wherever you found that. And I should mention that Christy again and Fadia and I worked together on the reference that Katya made to Being the Change. That was a program that is dear to my heart because it involved young people, much like these three girls, in developing curriculum for other middle and high school students. And then a crew of college students took these peace building, conflict resolution skills rooted in the lives of these Nobel laureates like Malala from Javaria's home country, basically out to the schools. And we had the great fortune that each spring, through a partnership with Augsburg University, the young people met the Nobel laureates. And this also then ties to these three girls who compose what's called the Dynamic Champions of Sisterhood. And I'll try to, like I said, I'll try to give you a little overview of where their inspiration comes from, which again, I think would be the shoulders of many of you who've done cross-cultural work, who've done literacy, who've done female leadership, or supported it. And so they are the children of a woman who has also done this kind of work. And so these girls have, I would say, quite an unusual childhood that, number one, the fact that they are truly sisters, right? And yet they represent these three parts of the world, and that they see sisterhood as central to their being, and that it expands and extends to other countries through their book club. So these Dynamic Champions of Sisterhood started their own nonprofit a couple of years ago. They were part of an organization, there's an annual, some of you may know, Points of Light conference. And there was kind of a Shark Tank-like environment. And these girls put their ideas out, and through an interesting panel of people, and honestly, the one who sticks in my mind is the editor of Youth Vogue, they made their point that, reading across cultures is important, that they need a common base with other young women to talk not only about their differences, but really about sort of objectifying what they're going through as young women. And so they now read with girls in Afghanistan, in Togo, and in India. And those connections originate out of their mother's own again, cross-cultural work. But I would say the girls have made it very much their own. And I serve on their board, and it's been fascinating to hear them talk about how they try to be, number one, look for books that are available in all these different countries, right? They tend to be 2 countries at a time reading the books together. And where the girls have come to now that I think is so fascinating is recognizing the importance of their stepping back. Because one of the most powerful things has been to see the young women interacting in Afghanistan with the girls in Togo, and in India with the girls in Togo. So what they realize is that sometimes being sort of the instigators of this means that, you know, their leadership can be a background leadership. And so they have found in these readings, in these shared readings that then sometimes involve translators, as you might imagine, for them to actually communicate their ideas with each other. They started as a Skype meeting. They have moved to Facebook because that involves then the translator. And the girls come up with the questions about the reading, and then everybody has about a week to post their thoughts and respond to a couple of other girls' thoughts. So if you're interested, please do look up the Dynamic Champions of Sisterhood on Facebook, and you'll see these brilliant girls. And I was just going to, how am I doing on time, Katya? I think you're muted, but.
You're muted.
Sorry, yes. You have 2 more minutes.
Okay, I'll just mention that where they have gotten to, in addition to sort of recognizing the importance of their stepping back, is also understanding that this can be something that younger girls enjoy as well. So these girls are high school age. They did a series of shorter summer cross-cultural reading experiences with middle and high school, or middle and I think all the way, well, as young as 12-year-old girls. And they have read things, I can think of the Western readings, I must admit, better because they're things I've read than some of the readings they've done from other countries. But, I'm trying to think of a brilliant, I think it's Ghanaian woman who wrote a series of graphic novels that they've read with the girls. But the commonality seems to be, now that they've kind of gotten beyond the cultural differences, that they've all struggled with COVID, as you might imagine, not unlike, you know, the girls we all know, right? Loneliness, alienation, isolation, and just sort of mental health issues. So these girls, working again with their peers, the real point is to improve mental health and create these safe spaces for brave conversations, and sort of do it as much as possible kind of beyond the watchful eyes of parents. So as you might imagine, it requires a lot of trust building initially. And then the end of the experience is usually actually a Zoom call where they get to really know each other a bit. But I was just, if I have time, I was just going to share their tips for a successful cross-cultural book group, should this be of interest to the rest of you. One, pick a book that is set in a time, place, or environment different from your realities, so that it transports the readers out of their usual comfort zone. 2, connect the storyline or theme to current events. Using the book as a starting point, of course. Invite participants, and I think they're saying this to themselves with the American girls who are involved, from different backgrounds and lived experiences, because it gets us out of our own echo chambers, as they say. Create a non-toxic environment is to make, the key to this being making sure all feel included, heard, and understood. Encourage related activities, second to the last point, like sharing photos and short videos of readers interacting in their cultural communities. And I know they did this a lot with a book this summer in the younger girls. And then finally, wrap up book groups in positive ways. And this is back to their Zoom meetings that they have at the end. But as Daisy likes to say, our unity is our power. And that's something she's taught me. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Maddie. It's very inspiring. I think we can actually draw from the 3 of you that there are women everywhere in the globe looking for the same, for better education, better conditions in life, and advancement in life and career. And many women are looking to ways of doing that by themselves and by helping each other, even if the others are, their sisters are in different countries. And I think that brings some hope. And I think we might not have a good idea sometimes, because everybody tends to be in the bubble. And so I think these type of events are good, because they actually enlighten us to show how much this movement is powerful. But I wanted to open the event now, and give the opportunity for others to ask questions. Anybody have any questions for Melissa, Javaria, and Maddie? Asma.
Hi. Thank you for Eduardo for inviting me, and all the speakers as well as the host for this great opportunity. So Melissa, I have a question. I'm originally from Bangladesh, so I can empathize with a lot of things that Javaria has spoken about. But I literally grew up here. I mean, I came here right after high school. I did all my education here, and I also have a JD. So it is Juris Doctors, Melissa. So I want to ask you, as I am willing to, or have the time and the resources to get more involved in the community work, I want to know, my biggest hesitance is, how would the community push back? So did you get any pushback from the Cameroonian community or the African community in itself when you initiated this work?
Yes, most definitely. And it's always seen as if you are trying to get women to disobey men. That's the quick reaction you get. So the kind of pushback I got was, most of the time it was men calling to tell you, you can't do this, you can't tell my wife to do the other. I even had one who called me to give me a lecture about inviting the wife for a breakfast meeting, which we were paying for. But he was very angry because she's not working today. She ought to be at home taking care of the children. And it happened to be a Cameroonian man, and he was very startled because I responded, and I was very harsh with him. And I told him he could take care of those children for 2 hours while the wife comes for breakfast. And but so we had quite a lot of those kinds of criticisms and attacks, open attacks, and even calling. I've had other organization, men from other organizations called to yell at us that we are stealing their clients. So I'm like, the woman chose to come here and you are not giving her this sort of thing. But I think the biggest thing was that I had known right from the get-go that I would be under attack, and it didn't bother me. And I had also known that we'll do a lot for people who would never bother to support the organization in the future. They'll always tell us stuff like, oh, I'm sure the government must be giving you a lot of money because you are doing such good work. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works here. It's in Africa where you have non-governmental organizations that governments actually give money to. But yeah, just knowing that this will happen. A lot of the advocates we've had, once you start accompanying women to court for divorce hearings or order for protection, you get immediately threatened. And if they cannot threaten you, they will find a man in your life. So if you are not married, they would find an older brother, an uncle, or even just somebody your community respects and threaten you through them. So just being ready for that and knowing that that would happen, I just completely ignored them. And most of the time, I actually told them to stop it, or I would call the authorities that will put a stop to it. So they leave you alone. Yeah.
Thank you. I might contact you separately just to talk to you about your experience and leverage on your knowledge and expertise. Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the question, Esma. Christy, you have a question.
I thank you all. Beautiful, and you've inspired me. I needed this little jolt. And so I guess I was hearing from all of you and about the mentorship, the importance of mentorship, and encouraging kind of us to work with young people as well, and really figure out how that can be done. And I struggle, right now in this current time of how to bring people together. And so I'm in my mind, when Javaria, you were talking, I was like, oh, maybe we each have to come back on with a young person, one or two,
Right.
so that we can start these global circles of conversation or something. But I'd be curious to see, or have you all think about, what might we do in the future to try and really encourage the mentorship and ourselves too. I mean, it's obviously interconnected. So if you have ideas, thanks.
Can I speak, Katia?
Yes.
I remember that in 2018, when I traveled to Dubai and, I visited the Prime Minister office, and there was a youth hub, on the first floor. So I got so impressed by, there was a company which was, originally from Hong Kong, but was hired by the UAE government. And what they were doing, they were giving online sessions. So, I always wanted to have something, because I have this organization, which is Balochistan Institute of Research and Development, and I have suffered for funding. And that's why, because of zero funding, I had to join the government, because I felt that, I'm wasting my time and I need to contribute, and I have that passion. So I really want that, if we come up with one software, one organization, one international company where, there are women, young girls, we can affiliate that company, that organization, and can get registration in every university and at least in college, where girls can get enrolled. And women like ourselves who have struggled, because I was very, I was blessed because I ended up founding some very good mentors, and they were, very decent, and they wanted me to polish me. But I know there are girls who are just bound to be at home. They just go to college or to university, but there is nothing there. So I really now thinking of, and this is what I was thinking today, that, I should contact the universities, and I should establish one company, or through Bird, I start them to enrolling those people, those girls, because after college, you want to know where you want to end up. Like I did BSIT, I did law, I did mass comm, I did international relations, I did double graduation. So, I was like I wanted to do everything, but alhamdulillah, at the end of the day, it all got connected. So what I will suggest that, if we could, through any forum, if we reach out the universities and reach out the colleges, that will be wonderful, through the US State Department, because I know they have alumni network. We have so many alumni, they are in bureaucracy, they are, researchers, they are scientists, they are technocrats, they are experts. So, through that, we can have people and those women with us whom we can guide, and they should not lose hope, because now it's social media, it's everything is connected through Zoom, even we are not traveling, so they can learn a lot. Like, even I can teach them a lot. You can share many things with them, how they can contribute, how can then they write on blogs, how can they can start their own small company and things like that.
Somebody asked me, and I'm putting in the chat the list of organizations. So I listed Global Solutions in Minnesota and MAWA. And if you, Javaria, would be so kind to put your organization. I know that you have a Facebook page for Bird, but I don't know if you have, I don't remember if you have a website.
I do have a website, and I was so busy with the chief minister that I have not paid for the server. So I need to pay that, and it will be on in a day or two. Sure, I'll do that.
Yes, please do. So people
wanted
can
to-
actually assess all of you. Thank
I
you.
wanted to say something about Chris's question on mentorship. I find it's important that when involving the girls, also the younger women, we also try to bring up issues that are of direct interest to them, or the kind of incentive that will appeal to them. Because a lot of times I've found with the younger people is the girls, our girls, is that they really don't, they hear like a profession, they don't know it will be of any interest to them. They are like, oh, what does that do? Then when they meet the people and start learning what they are doing and how they do, they start realizing, oh, that's a good thing. I would be interested in that. For instance, whenever we are speaking anywhere in all these groups and meetings that we attend, I always hear people say, oh, no, don't bother with Africans and environmental programs. It's not of any interest to them. I was at one meeting where somebody actually, one Zoom meeting actually recently, where somebody said that. And I was like, wow, you are badly mistaken, because we brought these environmental programs to the girls, and it turned out to be one of the most popular programs we have. And we had a couple of girls reacted with, oh my goodness. So this thing that they send all these large trawlers, those big ships that carry garbage, and they just want to drop it off. Like one time it was in Nigeria that they wanted to go pour out this garbage. So it's so dangerous for our countries. And she started writing, got her friends to write to their country of origin to say, you can never accept these trash trailers that come around with all this garbage and the plastic and what have you. And that was very impressive, because we didn't tell her, you should do this. No, she thought of it because of the environmental program. So when you think of any kind of issue that is a red button issue, the first reaction might be, oh, we don't care about that. What has that got to do with me? But eventually, as they get to learn how it affects them and what it entails, and especially seeing that other women are actually involved in doing that kind of work, it gives them the option of saying, oh, so that's something we can also do. So yeah.
And I will just add that, now in Pakistan, the good trend is that many girls are now getting education. You will find more girls in a school and in college and in university now than working somewhere. So that's the best place where you can, ask them, you can engage them. That is why I really want that, we should think of involving universities, and, by the time they reach their last semester, they should be clear, and universities should have their placement. They should not struggle, because we have seen that in every advertisement they at least seek for 3 years experience, and a new graduate could not have that 3 years experience. So it's something where universities, because in Pakistan there are many universities who are independent as well, semi-government, like they do get funds from the government, but then they generate their fundings too. And we do have 2 universities, like there is IBA and LUMPS, who do work on mentorship, and they really have mentors who sit and then who find the placement. By the time they reach their end semester, they already know in which organization they are going and what kind of a work they should be focusing on. The issue is that our girls are not focused, and we all run after money. We are living in a materialistic world, and everybody wants to, after the graduation, we really want to have a 6-figure or 5-figure salary, because we really want to have that impact in the society as well. But when it comes to skills, I think that is missing. And we should, people like us should be the role models, because yes, there is a struggle behind Javaria, Melissa, Maddie, Katia, Asma, Christy, but by the end of the day, we are like to have a alhamdulillah, have received a lot of respect, honor in the same community where we are living even.
Yeah. Yeah, I come from a country, Brazil, and I can't even compare with especially what Javaria country is going through, and I'm so glad that Javaria is you telling us that things are improving for girls and women. But we do have some, it's a Latino country, so we do have it's a macho man culture. And so I started working in a maximum security prison when I was 24 years old. So I was very young, and it was my first formal job, and it was a big responsibility. So I remember that there was, in addition to the very tough job to defend inmates who were convicted for a very strong and bad crimes, but also the environment where people were not very prepared to see a young woman working on that type of job. And well, of course, eventually you gain the respect because of the work you do, and things start, you start getting other types of problems. But I remember I had one of people that work with me in my office, and we became good friends, and he was a nice guy. And and one day he says, Counsel, can I ask you a question? And always when he came like this, because there was something funny or something very dramatic would come, and he asked them, because it was at that time I was doing my first master's in anthropology and social science, and I was studying German at that time. I was never fluent in German, but I was studying. And so he says, why are you all this studying, studying thing? And you were good looking, and you were in the age of marrying. And I go like, what?
Yeah.
The guy was younger than me, and I couldn't understand at this point why he was having this talk with me. So I probably was like 30 years old or something. So the guy was younger. And why all this studying and all this preparation? Why, and also you keep choosing too much. And when you're going to get married, and I go like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. So I don't remember what I answered to him, but I think this is a culture that people are expecting you needed to marry and you don't need to study that much. Why? Oh, he said to me, all this studying is not but getting in the way of you getting married, because nobody wants to marry a person who studied that much. And what? So my husband, he disagree with that.
Yeah, that's a common.
Here it is.
That's a common trend, even in our cultures too. In a lot of African countries, they always tell you all that studying is not necessary because you're just going to be some wife taking care of the. You actually have women who refer to the kitchen as my office. And they make it sound like it's some pride. Oh, get out of my office. Nobody should come into my office. I'm like, what? Did you learn catering somewhere? Or how is the kitchen your office? But it's a matter of changing that mentality. And actually, and that's why I talk to a lot of the guys who we work with. And I say, we really need you to show up for a lot of the programs we do, because they need to see that there are men who are African men who are supporting that the women get ahead, because a lot of times it's like, oh, it's not macho to support women, or don't call a man a feminist or something. So it's important for the younger people to always see That
What in Pakistan we do have the same culture. Like, I've grown up in a Pathan family, and when I was studying, so I remember every time I had so many exams, and my father was like, "What are you doing to yourself? Look, you have lost so much weight. What you will be doing?" And the people, my uncles, they were like asking when I started my jobs, and from a very young age. So he was like, "Oh, are you not paying your daughter pocket money? So we will pay her. She's bringing shame to a family. She's going to radio was considered to be a brothel house." And then and there was a time when my father was like, "Leave the radio station or I disown you." So I was like, "Oh, I'm so young, I really want his support for my education." So in 2010, after my graduation, when I got selected for my first job official as a public relations officer for Buterms, that was the day I told my father, I said, "Look, if today you will stop me, I agree, you may take away your name, but I will not be stopped from now onward." So alhamdulillah, then they do understand. But there are people, community, they think I'm not a marriage material, or yes, because they say I'm very over ambitious. I really want to know. I'm a alpha woman, and I feel very proud to be a alpha woman, because I feel that, look, marriage is not only about surrendering yourself, but it's more about that you should have a companion who can join a journey and contribute, because we are born, and humans, we are not a factory of producing children's. We are people. God has sent us for some purpose, so let us contribute. And if a woman is working, it does not mean that she is into money or she is like into men. So this is what perception we have. So we really need to change. And alhamdulillah, I feel that in my family, after me, my sister started doing a job. Now my cousins, even, they are driving. There was a time when 20 years back, I was the first one to drive a car, and they were like, "Oh, she might be going and dating people." And my father used to call me, check on me, "Where you are?" And at that time there was no Google sharing or sharing location as well. So I was like, "Oh, call me at my friend place." We had that PTCL phones. But at the end of the day, I feel that all these negativity give us power to fight more, because I say that if you will not give me a straight path, I'll take a round. If even you will not give me a path again, I'll take another round, and then I'll create my own way, but I will never be stopped. So we really need to tell our mothers as well, because in Pakistan, this comes from a mother, from a woman. "Oh, you are a girl, you are not supposed to do like that. Oh, you are a girl, why you are out after 8. Oh, you are a girl, you should not study, or you should not talk." Like, I have now more male friends than a woman, because I feel that trusting a man, for me, they are very helpful. They they arrange things for me, and I feel so secure with them. When I sit with the woman, it's only about gossip and backbiting. It's not progressive. So I have more male friends now. So and now they do understand that a male and a female can be friends as well. It's not something, the third thing. No, it's not that. So really, we really need to work on our mothers as well. Alhamdulillah, I've changed the perception. I asked my sister not to send your daughter into a girls' schools. Send her to a co-education. So she should be, since day one, she's confident, she's among the men, she know how to deal them, and she understand their psyche as well, because I have grown up in a girls' education, in girls' college, and when I walked into a radio station that day, literally I was shivering. But now when I walked and I talk, there is no shiver left in my voice or in my personality. So we really need to work on the women as well, to change that. We are born strong. It's the society which take us or make us, or make us feel weak. We are not weaker. We are more smart. God has given us more strength than a man. We can strength, not in terms of physical, but in terms of emotional strength.
I don't know how to top that. We are getting to the end of our session. I wanted to know if there is any other question. Perhaps we have time for one more. I was just curious if our representative of Yemen had anything to add, to the struggles that women go through. Do you have anything to add to
Thanks,
this?
Katia, for putting me in the spot right away.
I know,
What I
and
really-
we are so good friends. I'm hoping that she won't break up with me, the friendship.
Well, thank you so much to our panelists for this wonderful contribution that you guys added to. I don't have that much to add. I do agree on something that most of you said. Education is the key. This is where I am now because of education, because of my mother pushing that kind of like positive narrative about girls, about empowering girls, not just only they are women for getting just only kind of like going to school where girls are kind of like just in, but I do support the idea of mentorship. I think this is something that I did not find in my kind of like young age. I did not find someone who mentored me through the process. I was very ambitious. I'm still very ambitious. But I think mentorship, it's kind of like, it's a key to help young girls, whether that in Afghanistan, Cameroon, Yemen, India, to achieve their dreams. They need to dream big. So thank you.
Thank you, Fadia.
And can I say one thing to tie all
Yes.
this? For those who don't know, Fadia was a Humphrey Fellow. So Katya, Melissa, and Javaria all were a part of the
Humphreys.
International Fulbright Humphrey
Yes.
Fellowship
Yes.
program,
Yeah.
which
And
in
yeah.
itself is kind of a mentorship capacity
Yes.
building, and they bounced off each other. And Maddie actually, through Youth Thrive, I know, and others, she had many a Humphrey Fellow working with her. So I just, I think that in a
There
way,
is-
somehow this ripple effect of,
Yeah.
that we do realize that we need the support, because sometimes we're down and we need that extra nudge of,
Yeah.
oh, well, you thought about this. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you. You've inspired me to keep thinking.
Thanks. I want to say that the Humphrey program made such a great difference, because you know how you see things are happening and somebody will say, oh yeah, somebody will do something about that. Somebody will do. It is because of the Humphrey program that I decided that, hey, I need to do it, because remember, they always tell us, I can do it. One person can do it. So it is because of that I actually started this non-profit organization, because I was also waiting for somebody else to do it. Then I thought, no, you should do it. And yeah, the Humphrey impact has been really great.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone. Melissa, Javaria, Maddie, for your insights, for your stories, for sharing so candidly what you know with us. I think it's always, I'm humble because I'm learning so much every day, and I feel like I'm taking much more than I'm giving. So thank you for that. Thank you for all of you who stayed through the end. And I just wanted to end with some proposal here. Everybody knows us, knows me at least. Everybody has my email and how to contact. And I wanted to leave a proposal that we in this group and others that had to leave due to time, that we continue this conversation and perhaps find ways of helping others, perhaps starting a program of mentoring. And because we are not many, so perhaps we start very modestly, but finding girls in different countries that would like to be and receive mentoring, and we can help finding people in different countries who are able to speak the same actual language, literally English, French, Spanish, that can communicate and be a mentor to younger girls. And perhaps in a way we can give them some type of help that just like Fadia, I didn't have. I had good people growing up helping me, but not this formal mentoring that I always I always think that, you have some good insights. And Christy has been a wonderful mentor to me throughout the 11 years already. So, and I'm so grateful for her, because sometimes we are talking very late in the night and, this is priceless. So perhaps we could continue this conversation and find ways to contribute with each other. Asma, I think if you would be willing to share with me your email, and then we can privately talk. And everybody else, if you are willing, and it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, I think everybody is invited to contribute if you feel like, and if you think that's a good idea, we can continue this conversation.
Katya, thank you. I would love to. And I do think that the men definitely should join and help us develop some sort of program to even enlighten the young boys, because just like our panelists have mentioned, that it's important for the guys to be enlightened, because we need each other. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? So of course we can educate the girls, empower them, do all of that, but we also, it has to be equally supported by the men of our society, or the boys, to understand, to have that empathy, to have the desire to give us the tools to nourish or flourish as much as they do. Thank you. I will definitely be in touch, Katya.
Thank you so much. I'm putting my email just in case somebody doesn't have, but you guys know how to, everybody knows how to find me. And I wanted to give a big thank you for Jim and Shannon and Fred that stayed through the end. Eduardo was here earlier too. Shannon gave me express and very good Excel teaching and accounting course, and this is priceless. So I learned so much from Shannon, and I'm so grateful for you, Shannon. You are amazing. You are one of my favorite treasures, and I actually needed to introduce you to Gail, because she's my treasure. So you guys are both my treasures. Jim.
Well, can I just say one thing, Katya?
Yes.
I know I'm talking too much, but I just wanted to do a shout out to actually Ricardo Sancroft, who was also an International Humphrey Fellow, an alum from Jamaica. And he actually invited me to participate in his International Human Rights class last night with the younger generation on women's rights, and and there was a dialogue, and so I love what Asma's saying too, is how do we work in and through engaging young people, as my daughter just arrived here too. So yes, we can do it. We can kind of keep this spark going. Thank you so much, Katya, for pulling this on.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everybody. Citizens for Global Solutions, Minnesota. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thank you so much for attending and for participating. It's so important to have this group supporting us. Thank you so very much. And I hope to see you again very soon in the next events.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.